art, and power were never enough. The Medici ruled not with armies, but with invisible contracts. Florence, a city of marble and gold. Its soul owed more to ledgers and loans than to kings or popes. The city's true rulers were not seen on the streets. They were behind the numbers. And it all began with one family, the Medici. This is the World Historian. We expose the secrets they hoped would stay buried. Florence in the 1400s was more than a city. It was a heartbeat. Trade brought wealth. Art brought prestige. Politics brought tension. And beneath the beauty, power was fragile. Wealth could vanish overnight. Alliances shifted with the wind. Italy was a patchwork of city-states. Venice ruled the seas. Milan dominated the north. The Papal States held spiritual authority, but depended on political allies. Each city-state balanced commerce, diplomacy, and war like a tightrope walker balancing over fire. The Medici family saw opportunity in this delicate dance. Giovanni di Medici understood a secret most rulers never would. Money is invisible power. By 1397, the Medici Bank had begun to stretch its roots across Europe. Florence, Rome, Venice, Bruges, London. Each branch a silent lever, each transaction a quiet influence that moved kings. The Medici were not warriors. They did not command legions. Their power was subtle, woven through contracts, letters of credit, and personal relationships. Yet in a world where armies could be bought and alliances bought even faster, this invisible influence was often more decisive than any battlefield. Every citizen in Florence, from merchants to guilds, lived under the shadow of this invisible power. Artists thrived because of their patronage. Merchants depended on the stability they created. And beyond Florence, rulers feared what a Medici loan could accomplish. A fleet at sea, a palace built, a pope persuaded. The Medici's genius was not simply making money. It was turning finance into influence. They loaned to popes, princes, and kings, not just for interest, but for leverage. A loan could command armies, sway elections, or silence rivals. One carefully timed payment could shift the balance of power across a continent. They perfected double-entry bookkeeping, a system that revealed profit and risk while hiding secrets in plain sight. Each ledger was both a map of wealth and a blueprint of power. Debts, credits, hidden guarantees. They allowed the Medici to operate with confidence few could match. Letters of credit enabled Florence to trade across oceans without moving gold. A merchant in Bruges could pay a Florentine supplier with a promise backed by the Medici Bank. Trust became the true currency. Without it, even the richest city could collapse overnight. Secrecy was crucial. Medici letters often used family codes, unreadable to outsiders. Every transaction carried political weight. To lend a king money was not just financial, it was a negotiation of influence, a quiet assertion of control. Even art, so closely associated with the Medici name, served dual purposes. Funding a cathedral or a fresco was generosity, but it also broadcast influence. Every coin spent, every masterpiece unveiled, quietly displayed the Medici's reach. Consider Cosimo de' Medici. When Pope Eugene IV fled Rome during unrest, Cosimo quietly arranged funds to stabilize the Papal States. No armies were moved, no banners flown. And yet, the Pope owed Cosimo not just money, but loyalty, subtle influence, and gratitude. Yet power has a shadow. Wealth sows envy. Influence invites danger. The Medici were so powerful that their rivals grew desperate. Florence teetered on the edge. Debt could turn allies into enemies. A single default could ignite revolt. Trust was fragile. Reputation could crumble like old stone. Even generosity was risky. Lavish palaces, Grand festivals and art commissions drew admiration, but also suspicion. Jealous city-states and rival families watched for the slightest misstep. Cosimo de' Medici understood this paradox. He was wealthy beyond imagination, yet cautious. He operated in shadows, moving pieces like a chess master. Public humility masked private dominance. And yet, even he could not escape the fragility inherent in success. Rivals, jealous city-states, and papal politics could turn fortune into ruin overnight. This fragile balance is familiar today. Power achieved without transparency is powerful and dangerous. Every financial success carries the risk of collapse. Every loan hides the seeds of future rebellion. The Medici blueprint is all around us. Global banks influence governments with loans, bonds, and credit lines. Hedge funds, investment banks, and large financial institutions move wealth silently, shifting power without armies or flags. Trust remains the invisible currency. Reputation can topple empires faster than war ever could. Consider the 2008 financial crash. Complex loans, invisible derivatives, hidden risk. These were modern echoes of Medici ingenuity and its dangers. Just as Florence depended on unseen trust, modern economies rely on invisible agreements, contracts, and algorithms. One misstep, one default, can ripple across the globe. The Medici teach a timeless lesson. Control often hides behind numbers, not banners. Influence thrives in invisibility. Power does not need to announce itself. It operates quietly, shaping events before anyone notices. Even today, central banks, international lenders, and megafunds wield the same levers on a global scale. And like the Medici, they understand that visibility can weaken authority. Discretion is strength. We like to believe history is shaped by kings and generals, but the true architects are often silent. Money does more than exchange hands. It molds societies, dictates alliances, and writes the architecture of history itself. The Medici were neither tyrants nor heroes. They were engineers of trust, masters of leverage, silent rulers of Europe. Their legacy lingers in every bank, every loan, every market where unseen hands shape the world. Power, after all, is most absolute when invisible and fragile. The Medici remind us that history is written not just in battles won or art created, but in the silent arithmetic of influence. Every empire has its bankers, every civilization, its invisible architects. Understanding them is not just a lesson in money, it is a lesson in survival. Power often moves in silence. The forces that shape the world don't announce themselves. They work quietly, behind ledgers, contracts, and trust. Wealth can outfight armies. Money flows faster than soldiers, shifting the course of history in ways most of us never see. And sometimes, beauty conceals strategy. Behind every masterpiece, behind every grand vision, there is often a quiet hand guiding the outcome. The Medici remind us that history is written not just in battles won or art created, but in the silent arithmetic of influence. Every empire has its bankers, every civilization its invisible architects. Understanding them is survival. If this opened your eyes to the world, hit subscribe, and I'll help you see the world through time's eyes.